Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's brand new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And of course, I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And I want to start off with wishing everyone a very happy Valentine's Day. That's right, folks. It is a holiday. You're supposed to be snuggled up next to your loved one. And no, we are here to drop some incredible topics, one of which is already so decisive and has the community split down the middle that we're hearing the words port begging when I think that is preposterous, considering that most of us here own pretty much everything. But I have a lot of great points to bring to the conversation regarding whether or not Spider-Man and Wolverine can make a debut on Xbox. Folks, I'm telling you, when I used to do cases, you had to bring the evidence to the conversation. I have done just that, and Jim Ryan might have just made the case for me. But let's get into the introductions now, folks. You're going to see it's a smaller panel. Normally we're down technically 4 members because obviously Cybernox is out, tending to his wife who isn't feeling well. Obviously, we're every now and again. Tempest Sun has left the show on a permanent basis, but he will be joining us from time to time because obviously he's handling, running his own business. And Keasante, hopefully he's okay. He dropped the line at the last minute that he wasn't going to be here. I'm hoping that he is fine. Of course, the family is okay. And of course, our good brother and, very vocal brother, Everborn Saga. Well, he's in Paris, France, and he is officially getting married. That's right, folks. He did the whole kneel down in front of the Eiffel Tower ring with his beautiful, well, he calls her his wife, but obviously now it's going to be made official, and I couldn't be happy for that pair of beautiful people. Hey, we got Crispy Bomb to join us, and Crispy, I am happy to get your raspy voice on par with this conversation because you're going to have a lot to say. But first, before we get to you, Crispy Bomb, I want to welcome in Web Dave. You have exploded on the scene as not only being a community good guy, Dave. You have interviewed several of our panel members here, and you've been making your rounds. And quite frankly, the questions that you've been bringing to the conversation have been extremely, thought-provoking. So if you are not already subscribed to Web Dave's channel, what the heck are you doing? Get out there and sub this man and hear the interviews that he's dropped. I happen to be one of them as well, and it was a great near 90-minute conversation where I actually broke down some things that I have never said publicly. Dave, welcome to the program, brother.
Boom. Thank you so much for having me here, man. This is exciting. Part 2 for me. Yay. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
It is, man. And all these, I have interviewed everybody on this panel except for Crispy Bomb. I'll be reaching out to you. I'm just telling you that now, giving you heads up.
Let's do it, bro. Let's
all
do
right.
it.
Sounds good.
He's a fraud, Dave. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You're missing nothing. What's up, Crispy?
Love you too, Mag.
It's been so long. It's been so long.
So listen, speaking of Crispy, first of all, brother, thank you for joining us. We are again down 4 panel members, and these things happen. Real life happens. We threw up the bat signal, and you answered like you always do. Welcome to the program, brother.
Oh, it's good to be here. Might get in trouble, but also just if look at the chat. I think my girlfriend forgot that it was Valentine's Day. I really think that. So we'll see what happens. But
just turn the TV on.
It would be very enjoyable if I'm the one that has the Valentine's Day present. And so that would be a good night at the end of it. But I mean, it's good to talk games and let's get into it.
Yeah, it's great to have you, brother, and obviously, let's hope that you don't get in any kind of trouble with the missus. But listen, let's bring in Wandering Dutch. Dutch, thank you so much for being here, brother. We were talking in the pregame. Heck, the conversation we were having could have been a podcast in all by itself, but we're going to break down everything that we talked about and why there is some real potential evidence already out there that's not my opinion, literally coming from the mouth, the head of SIE, president and CEO, Jim Ryan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well. I'm looking forward to jumping in tonight with some nice topics, nice big chunky topics again. Awesome panel as usual. Of course, Everborn's flying high over in Paris at the moment. Probably a little tipsy, no doubt, celebrating. Congrats to him, of course, him and his other half. Eventually popping the question years later. But
Yes.
congrats to him.
Hey, better late than never.
Exactly. You know what? Got it done. Got it done.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Well, Dutch, it's great to have you, brother. And last and no way least, someone that I believe is going to have a monster opinion on this, because obviously the numbers, you can't lie. You can't listen. I say this on a regular basis, folks. You can have opinions all day long. Whether we agree or disagree is irrelevant, but numbers do not lie. And we're going to be breaking down some of those big numbers and why I have a strong suspicion that maybe at a test of some point, maybe Xbox doesn't get, Spider-Man 2 with Miles Morales. Maybe they get, Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales, the one that was released when the PlayStation 5 was first dropped. But we'll get into that momentarily. Mag, how the heck are you, brother?
Oh man, I'm super excited to be here. What a wild day. I mean, we've got Valentine's Day. We got Everborn finally popping the question. We got Crispy Bomb in the house. We got Web Dave in the house. Of course, we got Dutch, and of course yourself.
The Mag, baby.
You know what's funny, actually, Crispy? Every time I do a show with you, I always remember that the very first show I ever did was with you. All right, so it always scares me every time I do it. So I hear your voice, and I get that strange first podcast PTSD, right? But anyways, check this out, guys. Not only are we going to be talking about Resident Evil at some point tonight, it's also Valentine's Day, so I had to wear my shirt for my favorite love right here. You can't see it. It's my Lady Demetrescu shirt. I got it 2 days ago. I got it for Valentine's. That's my Valentine right there. Oh, she could scratch my back with those nails anytime. Anyways.
Pause.
Well, my goodness. Okay, gentlemen, we've got ourselves a hell of a show. We got great topics. Let's get right into this, man.
Yeah, you know what? Before we get any further, I want to thank Boss Mod Lethal Papa in the chat, as always. I mean, even on Valentine's Day, he's here. And listen, the mods that are able to get in this chat on a daily basis are unsung heroes that we don't get a chance to and talk enough about, because one of the things I'm most proud of as a content creator is the fact that I get told this all the time. Boom, your chats are some of the best in the business. I come in and there's very little infighting. Trolls kind of stay away. And I said, well, a lot of that has to do with Lethal Papa specifically, because he does walk silently and carry a very big band stick. And I honestly cannot thank him enough for it, because without him, this would be like the Wild West. And you don't want that. I know that fighting and finger pointing may be some people's things, but it's certainly not our thing. And I'm glad to have a chat on multiple shows that people enjoy coming and hanging out in and just talking about video games. The first super chat of the night comes to us all the way from our good friend Chaos Mod. He drops an outstanding $10 super chat, and he says, apparently CEO and president of Platinum Games wants Microsoft to buy them as long as they keep their creative freedom. That's desperate for Scalebound. He goes, are they desperate? Are they that desperate for Scalebound? Well, it's funny you say that, Chaos Mike, because tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is going to be one of the opening topics. And I think, listen, we talked about it last week, and it just seems that we can't move away from talking about either Platinum Games or, of course, Scalebound. And here is another story. And I got to say, man, I think the writing is on the wall. I think Platinum Games would be an absolutely incredible addition to MGS. I think that if you want a foothold, if you want to change your fortune in a region like Japan, the best way you do it is surround yourself with talent. Now, granted, there are some weeds that we have to be careful walking through, because there was the Scalebound incident isn't going away. That it happened. It is what it is. The truth of the matter is, though, we are hearing, and Jez Corden actually talked about this. Jez Corden, friend of the program, friend of everybody on this panel, and writer for Windows Central, says that a lot of that is made up. A lot of that is unconfirmed. That they stole money from Microsoft. That seemed to be, he seemed to put the poo-poo on that. So we will see. But we're going to actually break that down tomorrow. So tune in at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when Mav, Pong, VJ, who has recently joined the show, obviously he used to be on the Thursday edition, is now joining us on a weekly basis along with the rest of the crew. And we're going to be talking a lot about that and a whole bunch of other things. But listen, I got to open up with what we've advertised for. We're going to get into Resident Evil on the back end, Max. Don't worry, because that's my favorite topic of the night, even though Spider-Man and Wolverine have a big part of tonight's show. Folks, listen, I want this to be perfectly clear before we move any further. At no time have I ever suggested that you're going to see God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, or Gran Turismo go to Xbox. That's not going to happen, right? That's a fact. That is not even an opinion. That is not going to happen. But I do want to say that if MLB The Show proved anything to SIE, any universally loved IP that's not a first-party character can bring in the big bucks. And again, this is where the numbers come into the conversation. Okay, now, if you didn't know, and maybe some of you didn't, last year, MLB The Show was released both on PlayStation and the Xbox, being the first time. 4 million copies sold. Well, I have information in front of me that says half of those sales, literally half of those sales came from Xbox. Now, if I'm Jim Ryan, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, it probably would have sold only 2 million copies, maybe 3, right? If it stayed exclusively to PlayStation 4 and 5. But now we bring Xbox into the conversation and we literally double our profit. That's doubling. Now, it's 2 million to 4 million may not be a lot for you, but a game that normally sells 2 and 3 million has moved up to past 4 million. That's something to be had. Now, how do I come to the conclusion or even the suggestion that a game like Spider-Man or even Wolverine that was announced and set the world ablaze for good reason, because those are two monster IPs for both the MCU and, of course, comics around the world. Those two characters seem to be the two biggest characters universally. No, there's no question. I kind of want to just talk about numbers for a second. And then I'm going to bring in some quotes from Jim Ryan from a couple of interviews, and then I'm going to bring the panel in on the conversation. Now, as of this show, folks, Spider-Man 2018 has sold over 25 million copies, and that's freaking phenomenal. That is a feat that is rare. We see that with Nintendo games, right? We see that with some of the PlayStation games. Well, Miles Morales is actually closing in on that with 20 plus million copies sold. And even though those are impressive numbers, what's not so impressive is that there are apparently 116 million consoles, PlayStation 4s in the wild, not counting the 17 million PlayStation 5s. So that brings it to like 123, let's just say. So let's say for shits and giggles, there's 125 million PlayStation 4s and 5s in the wild. That's a lot of consoles. That's a lot of PlayStations. Well, the numbers don't lie, folks. 20 million of Miles Morales and 25 million copies of Spider-Man 2018. And again, no one's taking anything away from that. Those are incredible feats. But when you take what's sold versus what's out there, there's a tremendous disparity. Now, here's the thing. I want to take you guys and gals back to several articles that I pulled for tonight's show. The first one comes to us. It's on February 23rd, almost a year ago, 2021, where Jim Ryan sat down with British Go. And here's a couple of things that he said. Well, here's one of the major the quotes. There's an opportunity to expose these great games to a wider audience and recognize the economics of game development, which are not always straightforward. The cost of making games goes up with each cycle as the caliber of IP has improved. Now, here is another one that came towards the end of the year. This is Jim Ryan speaking during a keynote at GI Live London. This was October 23, October 21st, 2021. And here is what Jim Ryan had to say. I would also like to see a world where the games that we make at PlayStation can be enjoyed by many, tens of millions of people, perhaps hundreds of millions of people. Right now, success with the current console model, a really great PlayStation hit, you're only talking 10 or 20 million people being able to play that. We're talking about games stacking up against music. We're talking about games stacking up against movies. Music and movies, they can be enjoyed by almost limitless audiences. And I think some of the art that our studios are making is some of the finest entertainment that has been made anywhere in the world. And here is the final comment, and I'm going to go right to Mag on this. And to kind of gate the audience for the wonderful art, wonderful entertainment that our studios are making, to gate the audience for that 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I would love to see a world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy those games. Now, Mag, I'm going straight to you on this one because, listen, again, when I do these shows, anyone that has podcasted with me understands that when I'm not sitting behind the screen playing the game or sitting in front of here preparing, whether it be a thumbnail, whether it be the advertising, whether it be just scheduling the event, I do and really enjoy and love reading about gaming because I get to get this kind of information and bring it to the masses. Maybe you didn't read these 2 interviews. Well, guess what? If you want to read them for yourself and you want, and there's a lot to it, they're in the show notes. All you got to do is wait for this to go on video on demand, and boom, they're there for you to click on. I include all the information that I use is always provided. Mag, look. This is an assumption. This is an opinion. There really isn't a right answer until Jim Ryan comes out and says Spider-Man 2018 is coming to Xbox. But I am sorry to say, when he comes out of his face and he said, and I quote, the PlayStation audience is no longer enough. That comes directly from Jim Ryan on the heels of these 2 articles. That certainly tells me when he says tens of millions, he's not just talking PC, because PC will net you 2 to 5 million more players. It's not going to net you tens of millions of players, but you know how you can get tens of millions of players to play an MCU Spider-Man game? You bring it over to Xbox. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that Wolverine is going to release day and date on Xbox. What I'm saying is if they wanted to try it out and see how Spider-Man 2018 would sell, I can guarantee you that they would sell 10 million easy if you included that 2018 Spider-Man with the new Miles Morales and you sold that as a third-party publisher on Xbox. Where do you feel? Am I really on the deep end of this, or am I making sense, Mag?
Okay, you know what? First of all, this is a spider web here because this could go in 1,000 different directions.
Unintended.
Right? Yeah. Wow. I didn't even realize it. My goodness. Woo! There we go. Monday evening, folks. So, anyways, here we go. This is the thing. He could be talking about so many different things.
Yes.
He could be talking about, let's say, if the PlayStation numbers are not enough, then release it day and date on PC.
Yes.
Stop the pussyfooting around.
Right.
Now, here's the other side of the coin. Sony, not Jim Ryan, Sony doesn't want that because Sony is hell-bent on still living in the 90s and they need to sell the hardware in order to make their money. They are dependent on that hardware sale as opposed to utilizing the hardware as a vehicle to use software, right? Where all the other companies, basically what they're doing is they're just giving you they're giving you the hardware, and then basically they're making up all the money on the back end with the software, right? It's like your cell phone. You're not paying for your cell phone, basically. It's subsidized heavily, and then on top of it, you're paying your monthly fee, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they're making up all that money on the services, right?
Yeah.
It's the same. And you guys remember, I don't know if anybody still has cable. I don't have cable anymore, but I don't know. The cable companies up here, They gave you the damn box for free.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay? They're like, here, installation, free. Internet installation, free. Here's the cable box, free. But they make the money on the service, right? Whereas Sony is not about that. Sony is about, they still require, or at least in their eyes, they still require the hardware sales. Therefore, I still can't believe that Sony would ever say yes to putting games day and date on PC because they want people to buy the PS5.
Yes.
And then a year later or 2 years later or whatever, I don't think it'll be that long of a gap anymore. I think that 2-3 year gap is going to shorten to like less than a year or maybe about a year. Okay? That's what I see for future games. Like, for example, God of War Ragnarok, I think it'll be on PC by fall of 2023. I don't think it's going to be like 2025 or whatever. They're not going to hold it off that long. They're going to want to still, they're going to want to strike when the iron's hot still, right? And, when it comes to Sony games, let's face it, people pump them up for like a good solid year before they start to like fizzle out and then they move on to the next, big thing or whatever, right? So I think that I could see that. Now, that's where it doesn't make sense. So what I'm thinking is happening here is I think that there's a very quiet and polite civil war going on at Sony in terms of business ideology. You see what I'm saying? I think
that there very well could be. There's certainly I mean, listen, all you have to do is look at what Jim Ryan did when he was leading the charge in the European region. Right. He came in on the scene, and with his knowledge and know-how, the PlayStation 4 was outdueling the Xbox 7-1.
It was completely dominant.
It was absolutely completely dominant. So he understands money. We also understand that, again, we don't know how long, we're getting every day that passes. And COVID sometimes spikes, sometimes it goes back, sometimes it spikes again. The chip shortage situation is out of control. And now we're hearing that you might not be able to go to your local Best Buy and walk in and find an Xbox Series X and a PlayStation 5 until the end of 2023. Folks, we just started 2022. So if there's not, we understand that there's going to be the dual releases. Right, we obviously they want the generations originally, but they need, if they want that, they need the hardware that they just don't have. So you can't box out all of those PlayStation players. But I think you might be onto something regarding the internal civil war of the way that Jim wants to do business and the way that they're used to doing business. That's a very interesting point.
So you think about it, if you know anything about Japanese business, these people are not very willing to bend to anything new.
That's correct.
They are hard head. They're like mules. Okay, like they're stubborn as you know what I mean, and just set in the way. I swear to God, remember I said it last week or the week before. By the way, shout out to Special Nick in the chat there. By the way, thanks for dropping by, buddy.
Hey Nick, what's up, brother? Welcome.
He's here. So here's the thing. I remember what I said last week or the week before. I swear to God, if it wasn't for Microsoft, we'd still be using cartridges. Okay, and Nintendo's still using cartridges.
Sure
so
are.
you know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. But anyways, that's besides the point. Crispy, calm down, sir. So let me tell you something. Here's the thing. I think that, like I said, there is a quiet civil war in terms of the ideology of where the business is moving forward. I think that Jim is very much on board with the way that Microsoft and Xbox, and particularly Phil Spencer, their philosophy about how the gaming business is going to move in the future. Right. And therefore, I think that Jim is in line with that. And I think he sees it. He's not stupid. You don't get in that position. Don't listen to Twitter, folks. Don't listen to some guy with 8 followers talking about how he knows what Jim Ryan's all about. Let me tell you something. Jim Ryan does not get into that position. I make fun of the guy, whatever. That's just jokes. But here's the thing. You do not get into that position by being stupid. Okay?
Yes.
This is a very intelligent human being.
Dude, he is the CEO. He is the CEO and president of SIE. That is no small feat, ladies and gentlemen.
So this is what I'm thinking, Boom. He sees what Phil is doing. He sees that what their philosophy is moving forward. And he's like, wait a minute, we could get in on this piece of pie. Now, here I'm going to have a Mad Hat theory, which I'm going to save towards the end because it's kind of wacky and I don't think anybody's going to believe me or they're going to laugh it off. But here's the other thing. So now What does he want to do? Maybe release these games on PC day and date. Not going to happen. Sony doesn't want that to happen. Sony, the company, doesn't want that to happen because they want people to buy the PS5 hardware. Right. Otherwise, they still wouldn't be doing timed exclusivity on games. They still want people to buy the PS5 hardware to get into that ecosystem. Fair. Now, here's the other thought. There's the wacky thought that, like, yeah, you could say, okay, you know what? Maybe some of these games end up in the Xbox ecosystem. That's a really tough sell to me. I don't buy that entirely, but I'm not taking it off the table because, like I said to you guys before, if someone told me on December 31st what kind of news we're going to expect in January, I would have said nothing. Yeah. And January has been the wildest, craziest month in gaming in probably a damn decade.
How well, you know what? To that point, I must confront you. I must say that you make sense. But if someone would have told you that MLB The Show was coming to Xbox, what would your opinion?
I would have laughed it. I would have laughed it off. There is not only Xbox, Game Pass day one. Remember the never was?
Yes,
and I'm like, if you told me that, I would have laughed. I would have said, "You're completely out of your mind." You know what? Take that story to the National Enquirer. It'll fit right in, okay, with whatever stories they're printing over there. You know, woman has 7-headed baby. MLB The Show is going to Game Pass. You know what I'm saying? They would have fit right in line with the same ridiculous stories. But here's the thing. Now here's the other side of it. I've seen in the chat as I keep looking around and I'm looking at the whole situation, and I hear a lot of people saying Sony going third party. Sony is not going third party anytime
not at all.
Okay,
not even remotely close.
They are the market leader still. I understand what, like, even when King David talks about it, he's actually probably not wrong. I could see that like being something way down the road, but not giving up on the hardware. I could see them moving into a different, ready for this, meta space. Okay, something that's going to be online, something that's going to require a Sony Fire Stick or whatever the hell, that kind of thing. Maybe this Spartacus thing, a lot of people are saying, oh, nothing will come day and date or whatever. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe not yet. Maybe they're going to slowly ease into it. Maybe it'll take 2 years. Maybe it'll take 3 years, but then eventually they'll get to that point. Maybe they're trying to slowly build the foundation so that they can have something as successful as Game Pass. And then the two of them would not actually be competing with each other, but instead you put these at two affordable prices that people will easily be able to be part of both ecosystems. It is a win-win for everybody, and it is a win-win to keep Apple, Google, and Tencent out of the equation. That is something that I have been preaching for a long time, that I think that these companies, boom, I put up a tweet. I didn't think I was going to get this kind of response. I put up the tweet, and I'm like, anybody else get this feeling that like Sony and Microsoft are in a way, not collusion way, but in a way working together in order to keep these other companies out of the equation? Boom, I had 75,000 people stop by that tweet.
Wow.
That means that I'm not the only crackpot who's thinking that this is possible. Well, obviously, there are a lot of people.
To be fair to those numbers, I'm almost positive people were expecting you to show up with a unicorn, something on your head, and you didn't. So maybe that could be potentially part of the draw. But continue.
Well, see, so here's the thing. So the point was, I wasn't trying to brag numbers there. The point is that obviously a lot of people feel the same.
100%.
They're starting to come around to the fact that I think that what's happening is that, guys, the console war is over. You just don't know it yet. The new war is on its way. Okay, and that's what you remember what Gandalf said at the end of the Two Towers. Like, the war for the Helm's Deep is over, but the war for Middle Earth has yet to begun. That thing, right? It's the same thing. The war for Middle Earth is basically Apple, Google, okay, and Tencent. And I think that what's going to happen is that they're all threatened by this, but Sony does not have. Let's face it, they do not have the muscle to fight off those companies. Microsoft does. And Microsoft, if they flex, they will crush them. Now, that's the thing. So now, but you know what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Indeed.
So I could see that them working together in a way, not in a collusion way. People were like going crazy. I mean, Meg, you don't know what you're talking about. It's collusion. It's illegal. I'm like, guys, not directly, but indirectly, so that they share the space together. I could see that Spartacus and Game Pass. Think about this, Boom. Let's say you can't afford 2 consoles, okay? Look at us. 2 consoles, extra controllers, games, software. You're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Correct.
Right? Everybody on this panel, we basically are doing all this stuff. All right. So therefore, that being the case, right? What if all of a sudden not only Game Pass is $15 a month, even if it goes up to like 16 or 17 at some point, right? Then all of a sudden you get PlayStation when they start coming around with Spartacus. Let's say it starts at 10 and it's not so great. Then they start adding another tier. And then all of a sudden in a couple of years, it's $15 and it's good. Well, then for $30 a month, you now have access to both ecosystems. Let me tell you right now, you will not have 25 million people playing Spider-Man. You will have 80 million people playing Spider-Man.
Correct, 100%. Yeah.
You will have 100 million people playing the next Halo. You will have 100 million, like, because then these people will be able to go seamlessly between both ecosystems. And Phil and Jim will be sitting there with a giant martini going, and they'll be making a fortune. That is what I see moving forward. And that's where I think that and that's my personal call of what I think is going to happen in the future from all that,
I like what you're putting down. You make a lot of sense. First of all, I want to welcome in BitCloud Gaming. What a day for you to be here, specifically because we're talking PlayStation. And well, listen, quite frankly, you're one of the best of the best of the best, sir, when it comes to representing the brand. And not only are you Mr. 10K, but you're Mr. IGN as well. So we know that you are representing gaming in the best light possible. How the heck are you, man? Welcome.
I'm good, man. I'm here in the convo. I'm like, okay, I see Meg. I see you.
Well, Meg, glad. How's it going? Hey, man, I'm telling you.
Yes, and
behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think he's on to something, and with that, BitCloud, we're definitely going to bring you in on the conversation on that. But I got to go to Web Dave on this. See, now, Web, the reason why I want to bring you next, obviously, besides being a very special guest, is you've had a lot to say about this specifically. Now, again, I have never suggested that you're going to see first-party golden IPs go to Xbox and vice versa. You're never going to see Master Chief on a PlayStation. You're never going to see Kratos on Xbox. That's a fact. But here's where I start to walk the razor's edge, so to speak. Last year, we saw Sony get pressured by MLB saying, hey, listen, you sold 2.3 million copies of MLB The Show 2020, and that's great. That's great. But that's not enough money for us because we're only bringing in X amount and we want this amount because it's MLB, right? We are MLB. We are baseball. We want more money. And we're looking over and we're saying, man, Nintendo, that'd do really good with the baseball, which is releasing this year. And they look over at Xbox and say, wow, man, Xbox has a lot of players. And that Game Pass, well, look at their numbers. The numbers don't lie. Now, this is an opinion, Dave. By all means, take it and run with it or leave it on the sideline, whatever you want to do. What if Marvel turns around and says, hey, the lifetime numbers of Spider-Man 2018 at 25 million are fantastic and we're very happy. The numbers of Miles Morales, which are at 20 million plus, 5 million short of 2018 Spider-Man, says that character, first of all, if you ask me who I like better, I love Spider-Man, but that Miles Morales game hit me in the feels for a lot of reasons. So for me, I take that one first because I love Miles. I love the family story. I love everything about the kid. So that's why I take that first over Peter. But what if Marvel turns around and says, if we were to only release Spider-Man No Way Home in Regal theaters, we would make some money. But what about all the other theaters that we didn't release it in? Now, again, this is just simply an opinion. What if they look and say, well, what if we could have 45 million copies sold of Spider-Man 2018 versus 25? What if Miles Morales launched on Xbox and we got an additional 10 to 15, 20 million sales or Microsoft drops a big bag of money off to Papa Disney and it goes into Game Pass. Again, this is simply a suggestion. Now we understand that, I understand the argument. Well, just a second, Boom, that's first party. Yeah, so is MLB The Show. And the same way that was basically strong-armed like the mafia, hey, do this or you lose that. I'm not saying Disney's going to do it. but there is a lot of room for Jim Ryan to make money. And here's the thing. I think Mag made a great point. They're dependent, and I say Sony is dependent on the old school, the old-fashioned way of making money, and that's selling consoles. But we all know, and you don't got to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, it's the software sales where you make your money. And leaving PlayStation to just sell on PlayStation when you can't get PlayStation 5s out the door is a mistake. And I think that Jim Ryan sees it at that. And those comments from Jim Ryan, both at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, like bookends, tell a much different story than maybe a year ago. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'll tell you, Boom. From what you're throwing down, I do. I mean, it makes sense that there's entities out there that would like to have more money, and Sony does like the money. When they did it to the MLB The Show, and brought it on Game Pass. I used to play some sports games, not super big on them right now, but I downloaded it. I played it because it was on Game Pass. I tried it out. It wasn't really for me, but I love the fact that it was there for people that are into that and love that kind of sport, that they were like, man, something they've been wanting for a long time, and now it was available. And they saw a vast amount of, rewards for that. The MLB license did, because obviously, they liked the numbers they got. They liked everything that happened, and they were like, let's do it again next year. Obviously, they went back and did it again because it's coming out. And then they were like, wow, what else do we got? And now they're bringing it to Nintendo, which is fantastic. There's a lot of Nintendo players that are like, wow, we're going to get this quality of game on the Nintendo. And that's, again, it is about the money. Mag's point of the, which I loved, bringing it to a console, day and date on no, I don't think that will happen. But which, I mean, you said that you thought, at a later date, 6 months, a year down the line, those kind of things make sense. It is a possibility, as long as it's not, if they're doing it for PC, why couldn't they do it for the Xbox? Why couldn't they do that for the ecosystem? I mean, is it likely? I don't really know. I mean, at this point, it's all new territory.
Yes, absolutely. And again, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm the one that wrote the show, and it's extremely highly unlikely. But we're also living in bizarro world, where
Right.
if you would have told me that Microsoft was going to buy Activision, I'd be like, you know what? Somebody get this guy straight, Jack, because he's just crazy.
Yeah.
And again, stranger things have happened, but I said this specifically to you when we were in the green room. I said the door has been left open. All right.
Yes.
And when you leave a door open, well, air gets in. And
Yep.
sometimes that air pushes the door open just a little bit more, and then a little bit more until the door is wide open. Now, I'm not saying that my theory is incorrect or otherwise. I'm saying that there's certainly a possibility. And real quick, I got a shout out, 2 super chats, Dave, and I'll come right back to you. Space Dovigan drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Hideki only wants one thing, and it's F-bombs. Disgusting. I see your point. And Kirby Louise, now he makes a great point, one I should have probably led with, and it does make a lot of sense. He drops a very generous and a $10 super chat. So Kirby Louise, thank you for the generosity. And he also says something very, very on point or on topic, so to speak. He says, unfortunately, it's not that simple. If Disney tries that and Sony says they're going to pull Spider-Man from the MCU, which hurts Disney a lot more than getting to sell Spider-Man games on Xbox, Switch, PC. Yeah, and he's right. He's 100% right, because I've always said, again, I'm no proof. I didn't see any of the contracts. I've always said that the reason why Xbox doesn't have any Marvel heroes is because I honestly believe that it was kind of boxed out of the conversation because of the sharing agreement with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man with the MCU is extremely important. Look at look what happened at No Way Home. I believe they're just about to cross $2 billion, and they haven't even released it on home video yet. So it's Spider-Man's a big deal. But please, Dave, continue.
No, and he's right. That is a great super chat. That it it would definitely. I mean, there's lots of contracts in place, and Sony does like that position that they've got themselves in. I mean, Marvel for years has tried to get everybody back home. The reason that Sony has Marvel or has Spider-Man to begin with was because Marvel was hurting for money and they were ready to close. And, it was just about, it was literally months away from shutting down when they did the licensing agreement. Now, in hindsight, do they wish they had made some better deals or better adjustments or, kind of, length on there or, ways of them to get it back? I'm sure they do now. But they are able to work with the MCU, has brought us probably some of the greatest Spider-Man movies ever,
Yes.
So
indeed.
so with that said, is there a possibility that it could happen? Sure, there's definitely a possibility. And it really depends on how things lay out. Now, if Jim's like saying Spider-Man has reached its limit because if it's on our system and this is as many as we can get, well, now it's time to to bring it to PC, and it's going to bring that much more income for them on that IP. And if it was made available for Xbox and or Nintendo, well, obviously there's going to be that much more money that has potential to make with just that one IP that they've already got done. And not necessarily IP, but I mean, the particular game, the Miles Morales, or this just original Spider-Man.
Porting it over, Dave, would be copy and paste.
Right.
That's a fact.
Exactly.
That's a fact, folks. If you wanted to take Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales, it's like copy paste Xbox. Let's see how that works.
Yeah. It's easy for them to really get it done if it's something that that was, I would love for it to happen. I think it would be fantastic. It would be great. I think it would be good for gaming. I think it'd be good, especially now when, they were trying to show, seems like some kind of like, I don't know, solidarity or not necessarily, I don't know, kind of a, hey, you're helping us out with this Call of Duty thing. And if, of course, we'll all know when the deal is actually done,
right,
what it really is.
I'm actually going to further that opinion because that was actually going to be my next. That's a great point. I keep calling it the Call of Duty factor, and even though we know that Warzone is staying, I have and again, if people got in their fields, I actually had my chat turned against me. I think it was Crispy. You were there for that. I think it was Friday's show.
Yeah,
it wasn't pretty. A lot of people got in their feels and said some pretty some strange commentary regarding me saying, "Hey, listen, what do you care?"
It sounded like somebody that should not be named.
Yes, well, we will not name the nameless. Absolutely. But yeah, Dave. I mean, listen, Dave. Great points. We're going to come back around to this. I don't think we're done talking about this at all. I do want to bring in before I bring in Cloud, before I bring in Crispy. I got to bring in Dutch. Dutch, look. The Call of Duty factor that Dave was mentioning is an interesting one. Now, I'm not suggesting that Microsoft is going to dangle it like a carrot. Not at all. But I'm just saying that when you have Call of Duty and you're going to potentially become the owner, and I say potentially because the deal isn't going to it's not done yet. It could be foobarred by the FTC. We don't know. Is it unlikely? Sure, but it's always a possibility. So until the ink is dry, we're just going to keep suggesting that it may or may not happen.
Yeah.
This is again, everyone. I don't think I'm the only one that says that they're playing nice with each other. You've heard that from Mag. You've heard that from Web Dave. You've heard it from me. A lot of people in the chat are also suggesting that as well. And I think it's all for the common good of the keeping the industry strong, and that's the industry at large currently is the Xbox, it's the PlayStation, and it's Nintendo. Those are the industry leaders. There are other ones in there, but there's some that you don't want. A game like Spider-Man, is going to have a tremendous amount of draw. And again, this is just my business hat I'm putting on for a hot second. Spider-Man No Way Home is probably one of the best Spider-Man films ever released. It would be pretty incredible that when that game launched, at some point, Sony announces, hey, for the first time, Insomniac Spider-Man coming to an Xbox near you, and they drop it for $70, but you get both games. And do you know how many that would sell? Just on the fact that A, it's Spider-Man, B, it's never been on Xbox, it's Insomniac Games, who used to make games for Xbox before they were first party. Again, I'm not saying that it is going to happen. I'm just saying that if it did, it would bring in gang busting numbers. What are your thoughts on this? Am I off my rocker?
Not off the rocker to want that to happen, specifically like multi-platform, etc. But Kirby was right before when they were talking about just the iron grip that Sony have on Spider-Man as an IP, even over Disney, to the point where they've kind of came up with should we say, a mutual agreement right now so they can both use them. Sony had to essentially beg, not Sony, Disney had to essentially beg Sony for the use of Spider-Man in the Marvel IP, in the likes of Endgame, etc., and the Avengers. They essentially had to beg them to use that throughout it. Now, it all stems back to massive legal agreements years ago, all on Disney's part, which essentially ended up extending all copyright agreements, should we say, and leases for IPs for 100 years, or in some circumstances 125 years.
That was actually a deal with Marvel. I'm just
Yeah.
going to correct you. It was a deal with Marvel. Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man, the entire universe that involves Spider-Man through the comics. That's the reason why you see Venom and other, characters that, are important to the Spider-Man universe. So, at the end of the day, they bought the rights to a single character. But on top of that, they bought the rights to the character fighting that universe. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is way back. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Like Sony
got that
jumped
IP
in
locked down
quickly.
until minimum 2057 right now.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
That's it.
if there's even a world,
and it could also still get extended depending on how certain legalities go, and the opposite side, depending on how certain legalities go and things like that through court battles, etc., for the IP in the future. If things go the wrong way, because Disney is still trying to get that IP completely back under their control, they're also potentially losing the figurehead of Disney, which is Mickey. Again, through to some weird copyright and legalities, but that's a long story. But it could very well be that the whole Sony exclusivity thing for Spider-Man, in terms of the use of the character and the character itself, could end up either being voided entirely and then just being free to use, or extended further past 2057. So it's a very difficult one. If it was any other character, like the likes of Wolverine, etc., that's fair game. that is fair game. Spider-Man, on the other hand, it's a whole different kettle of fish. There's so much backstory to that with Disney, Marvel, Sony, all kind of trying to vie for the use of that character, and being able to. So for the time being, they've managed to get the likeness, like I say, and the use of the character into the end, obviously the Marvels series. But beyond that, I don't know when we'll really see much more of it. So obviously Sony have plans for Spidey going forwards. In terms of game rights, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But again, Sony essentially have first dibs on that because of the character licensing that they have. So it's such a strong one. We'd love to see it, but you can guarantee that they're more likely to put it on PC than they are ever to put it on Xbox. Wolverine, on the other hand, is fair game. They don't have kind of an exclusivity to a Wolverine. That's just a kind of temporary thing that they've managed to work out with Marvel and Disney for the use of that character. So I'd be interested.
But here's my question to you, Dutch. When you specifically see Jim Ryan come out and say that he's frustrated, and clearly he says 20 to 30 million only. They obviously want to sell more copies. They want their games to somewhere be they want to be able to say we sold 50 million copies of Spider-Man X. And the only way they're going to do that is if they offer and again, here's the thing that's interesting. I've seen some people's arguments in the chat and say, well, if Spartacus comes out, they'll get all their more people would join Spartacus and play because it's going to be in the service. Well, I beg to differ because I don't know if that's in fact going to happen. They're not doing day and date. They've already confirmed that story came out of let's see who did the story. That was Bloomberg dropped the story and basically said that listen, we're not, the Sony's not going to do day and date. They're going to do it's going to be just an updated version of what they currently have. And if that's the case, well, having Spider-Man not in there now, whether I don't know if that's going to be Spider-Man 2018 or not, but if it's no one is going to go and get the service for Spider-Man 2018. They can go buy that game for $20 right now. So they're not going to go out and buy the service for that. They would, of course, get it for day and date. I still think that when you look at specifically what Jim Ryan said in regards to the hundreds of millions potentially, I know that's a bit of a far-fetched, but when he starts talking,
it's the same kind of numbers that Phil's touting around, because he wants to reach the billions and things, and I think that's kind of what he's alluding to, really, isn't it? It's more not I want all of these games to hit 100 million, because that's unrealistic. Even Nintendo's kings of selling first-party IP. You're talking 30, 40 million copies for every first-party IP that comes out, and they're a closed ecosystem. I think even if we're releasing, and you see that for games that are big AAA titles that release across multiple platforms, excluding GTA, which is a juggernaut in itself, and sell, like we mentioned kind of last time, it was like 160 million copies or something ridiculous by now. Excluding GTA, the vast majority of these big AAA IPs, regardless of what they are, even on multiplats, you're looking to sell your 20s and 30 millions across every device that's there.
Right. Yeah.
So I think for them specifically, they'll still need draws coming at the platform. Spider-Man's been one of their biggest success stories, bar none. So I don't think they'd ever let that go as a platform exclusive. I think to them, that's kind of another one of their figureheads. Their staple IPs now for that platform, much like it would be the Halo IP or something like that. In terms of copies sold, of course, like you say, it's in the 20 millions, etc. I fully expect potential other games. You know what it is? It's hard to see which ones they would be willing to let go of and put into a kind of a multi-plat scenario. You're looking at Horizon there, and Horizon's selling very well. Well, the previous one did 20 million plus copies, I think it was as well.
Yep.
The new one comes out very shortly, and again, Aloy is another one of these kind of instant poster girl, should we say, in this instance, for the platform. It's a figurehead of the actual studio. I think they try to achieve that with the Japanese IP, of course, with Ghost of Tsushima. They wanted kind of a more an Asian figurehead there. So obviously over in Sony, over in Japan, kind of that's the poster boy over there. And likewise, I think maybe games like Ratchet very well could go multi-plat. I could see something like that go. God of War, I still couldn't see go.
No. Their mainstay. I don't expect the Gran Turismo to ever show up on Xbox.
But this is also why they're moving into the games as a service, and they're gonna create these IPs, which they will want everywhere. And these games as a service games, they'll want to put everywhere.
Yep.
They could do offshoots of some of the big IPs that are games as a service that sell everywhere. And people that play these games as a service games might want to go and experience the single player version of it and then have to go on to a Sony platform or subscription service to be able to play that. There's many ways they can do it. It's business. It's called enticing the customer. You draw them in with a little bit of sweetness, and then you that's how you get the customer base. You offer them something that they really want, but you give them just enough of a taste to kind of draw them into that platform. And I think that's what Sony will aim to do with these games as a service games and kind of multiplayer games that they're going to start generating. They're the ones we'll see first. I think going forwards, I think a lot of people have said this as well. I see potentially God of War Ragnarok being the first one to do PC day and date with console.
Well, yeah, we'll certainly that's going to be interesting. That if it again, we have the rest of the year to find out.
Yeah. I think I foresee that one to be the first. We're still yet to get a release date out of that game as well. Obviously, I really want to see it. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting pushed back some way, shape, or form, whether it be a couple of weeks, months, whatever it is. Obviously, we don't have a release window right now anyway, so we wouldn't know what the delay would be on that.
Yeah.
But it's been a short while since we've seen it. But yeah, it's both platforms. It's hard to see what avenue they're going to take in terms of what they will retain as exclusive and what they will then put forward as a fair game for everybody to play.
And you make a tremendous point. I mean, listen, again, I don't expect
one final point on the Call of Duty thing that I often see happening. Much like Halo Infinite, and even in Crossfire, as much as people hate what has happened with that, and obviously it's not available on Game Pass yet. Still,
it's terrible. I want my money back, Xbox.
But what? Yeah. I mean, you know what it is? I enjoyed the campaign, the first campaign. I haven't played the second one yet, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was all right. It was the same as any other Call of Duty campaign I've played. So it's full of action, relatively decent story. Now to write home about, but not horrific either. But that aside, the way they have implemented the campaign and the multiplayer is the way I foresee Microsoft to do that going forward for Call of Duty. So you'll get a free-to-play client IP where multiplayer is free to everybody.
Yeah.
The campaign, however, is built within the multiplayer client that you get, much like Halo is. So you download Halo's multiplayer, and then that is the client for the game. And then you can download the campaign within the client. You can't download it separate, much like Crossfire, which is exactly the same thing. You download the multiplayer, and then you download the campaign within the client. I think Call of Duty going forward will end up like that, where Call of Duty as the multiplayer segment will be completely multi-plat, but it'll be a free-to-play client where the multiplayer is free-to-play, and it's all based on MTX and season passes and all that jargon. But the campaign segment that is built into the client is the exclusivity part that Xbox keep a hold of.
I mean, it
makes sense on a financial basis for Sony because they're not bothered about the single player, because the single player at the end of the day isn't what is recurring revenue. The recurring revenue is the multiplayer, and I think as long as they keep that as the multi-plat section, there is going to be no issues in terms of what happens with the single player.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, and I have a feeling that we're going to see some trade-offs. But Crispy, before I bring you into the conversation, let me catch up with some of the super chats. Kevin S drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Resident Evil announcement coming tomorrow, maybe RE4 remake announcement. Thoughts? Yes, we're second half of the show, brother. We are talking Resident Evil, and I'm almost positive not only are we going to get a trailer, but we're going to get a release date, and that is coming this year. And hopefully, I can get my hands on the collector's edition that's going to have a Chris Redfield statue. Because
you got a problem, Boom. Hope you know that.
No, I definitely have a problem. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, thankfully, it's video games and not alcohol or drugs.
I get it.
Come on.
But listen,
we like our beer. I'm with Meg.
Listen, I hear you if you like beer. I'll take a Dr. Pepper or a sugar-free ginger ale, but we're okay. It's okay. Jet fan 95.
Crispy sparkling water.
I actually
Sparkling
do.
water.
I don't have it here, but I do. Yeah, I do like sparkling water. Actually, the Stop and Shop brand is quite good. But listen, they're not paying me for the advertisement, so let me continue. JetFan95 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Chance of old Activision Marvel games coming to Game Pass. I would not be surprised if we saw some legacy titles drop into Xbox Game Pass and even potentially get a boost, which would be kind of dope." Let's see. We also have Danny Passion Official. Danny, what's up, brother? Welcome. He drops a $5 super chat and says the perfect world would be able to play any game that you want by just buying a subscription service, regardless of device that you own, PC, TV, phone, etc. Yeah, I mean, this is probably never going to happen, but man, we're getting close. We are definitely getting close with these subscription services. I don't think Nintendo's ever going to have one because people like me, we just keep buying the damn games. But Crispy, look, again, this isn't a stake in the ground. Hey, it's definitely happening. But the fact that Jim Ryan has come out and he's used words like he's frustrated. He actually came out and specifically said that the PlayStation fan base is not enough. That's not something I made up. That's something that he said publicly. He also talked about wanting to expand these works of art to tens of millions of more people. Now, again, the numbers that he's talking about, you could suggest, oh, he means PC. Boom. He doesn't mean Xbox. But does he? That's what we don't know. Again, it's certainly subject for discussion. For you, seeing how they literally freaked out when Microsoft bought Activision and we're going to be in control of Call of Duty, among other many IPs. Do you think there could be some deal worked out that maybe a Spider-Man game from Insomniac landed on an Xbox?
Not Spider-Man. I'll tell you this. If you look at Phil's tweets, like when he said, we had some really good talks. Like, first of all, a lot of people don't realize Phil is a huge Destiny fan.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand that. They don't get it. I'll tell you right now, my brother Xbot, he's a huge Destiny fan. The dude's got like hundreds of hours, almost days.
My brother too. Thousands of hours. My brother.
So it's one of those things where it's like, they could have told him, and you have to understand this. Like when you're talking to a CEO, like he's contractually obligated not to say a damn word about anything that he talks to people. Okay, it's almost like the president of the United States,
right?
For that company, he is sitting there and he cannot say, like, if somebody from Sony told him that was going to happen, he's going to be upset. But all of a sudden, Sony's like, we're going to play ball.
Yeah.
We're going to do something we've never done. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, hate how Jim Ryan, but you could bring up Phil Spencer for this. Like, hey, high fidelity VR and all those talking points that he had for a period of time. Jim Ryan had a misstep. But at the same time, he's looking at Sony and saying, we need to do bigger than just selling consoles. We need to be bigger than that. And maybe that's why he's frustrated. Now, he's not going to tell us the whole spiel, as I like to call it. It's one of those things that you just go and look at what's going on, and you say, well, Sony's fine. They're selling a lot of consoles. Well, that's great. But I'll tell you right now, Activision didn't sell to Microsoft because King was probably carrying their entire freaking company.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like Candy Crush is just, it's one of those IPs I'll never get, but I can't deny that people love it. People love it. And that's where I go and look at it and I say, okay, everybody says Spider-Man. Nah, if they're going to go multi-plat, and you see this with MLB, because still MLB The Show is the best baseball game you could play right now.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So you think about that, and they see the reception from even the Xbox game.
Half of the sales came from Xbox.
So think about that for a second, and then also think about that Sony does not own, not like Spider-Man. Spider-Man, like the IP for movies, everything else, they have a bargaining card. They do not own the IP for Wolverine. Wolverine and X-Men was bought by Fox about the same time Sony bought Spider-Man.
Correct.
It was darn close. So you look at that and you say all those characters involved. And I go and say, you know what? Insomniac clearly has proven that they are good at making a superhero game. And when I saw the Logan-esque status, my only concern is you can't jump ahead too far. You have to introduce the man that is Wolverine.
Yeah.
That absolutely will cut your throat in a second. I'll tell you, X-Men 2, I don't even think people could watch it right now because they wouldn't, and there's no blood. They were very good about that stuff. But I mean, that was made by Fox. It was not made by Disney. You know what I'm saying? They were very good about that. And there are some movies like Wolverine Origins. I was like, but it was still entertaining. I feel like we're at the point where they're going to do something pretty crazy in most people's minds. But a lot of people didn't think they would ever see MLB The Show on Game Pass day and date. It never would have happened in their thoughts. So I go and say, okay, Spider-Man, I feel like because they have these rights, you know what I'm saying? Like Disney ain't touching that. And you know what? Sony, I don't hate them for that. I really don't.
No. It's their IP. I mean,
they did something that not a lot of other companies would have done at the time, including Microsoft. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? That they took a risk and it has clearly paid off now. And you look at it now and you say, okay, why is Wolverine? And apparently it's Insomniac that's doing it. I don't think it's completely them. I think it's somebody else on the backside. And this is where we go into like the whole conversation about, the craziness that like, you could say it's under one gaming company rather than another. And that's with the Activision deal. It's like, well, you could say this game's under this company and really the developers are doing this. That's some shady stuff, but it's true if you think about it. So you look at that and you say, why in God's name wouldn't they take Wolverine? Which, even the trailer, I was super impressed. But at the same time, I'm like, are people going to not understand where the story comes from? Because it looked like true on Logan.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And Logan's the end of the story. Unless you're going to a metaverse type thing where it's like the what ifs. Like, dude, I didn't think I was going to like, because it's cartoon and everything else. I watched What If. I was like, my God, it is so amazing. Like, I love like how they approached it. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of it, you're like, damn, I need more. You know what I mean? Like, if they take what, Kevin Feige, especially, you know what I'm saying? And all these people like John Favreau, they have made these IPs so good. And they take in consideration making these games. They're going to be freaking off the charts amazing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I go and say, like, Wolverine, like, you could start that, like you could see parts that we've never seen, but are in the comics. Well, Wolverine starts exactly the way what we saw. A lot of people don't understand that. He starts exactly the way he ended. A lot of people don't get that. But if you read the comics,
so you think it's more likely that Wolverine comes to Xbox than Spider-Man?
Absolutely. I think Spider-Man, is Sony's IP that they're not going to let go, no matter what. They're not going to allow it to be anywhere else but on Sony, whether it be them, producing and directing and doing everything with it, and then having some, nowadays it's like, okay, Marvel's going to come in and be like, Marvel Disney's going to come in and be like, hey, you can't do this because it won't be a part of the universe.
The MCU. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen,
but they get the gaming rights, which a lot of people don't realize. Technically, they do not have the gaming rights.
No, they don't have toys, merchandising, or they simply have the movie IP only. Listen, again, this is the conversation that I expected to have a lot of opinions. Everyone has not disappointed so far. I do want to get one more before we move on to the Resident Evil topic, and we're bringing one of the biggest PlayStation representatives who does it the right way, who has done it the right way, has crossed 10,000 subs on his channel, and has done incredible since hitting that 10K. Big Cloud Gaming, first of all, brother, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to get your opinion on this, because if there's one thing that anyone could say about you, is that you bring facts to any Sony conversation, even if it nets you negative in the loss column when it comes to subs. You tell the truth, you speak it, you don't speak it from a fanboy point of view. And listen, when I originally did this topic, I got a lot of nasty comments that I'm port begging, which is preposterous, because I have platinum Spider-Man 2018. I am one trophy away from platinuming Miles Morales. I own a PlayStation 5, so I'm going to buy Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. And I'm probably going to platinum those because I'm an MCU freak. But with that said, hearing Jim Ryan's comments, where he is implying that the 20 and 30 million per regular game, per artwork that their studios put out, isn't enough, could one suggest that maybe Spider-Man 2018 and old Miles Morales could have maybe drop onto the Xbox?
So let's touch on that. So we had this conversation, I think, a year and a half ago. We talked about Nintendo at this point, when Nintendo's in a different league by itself, because Nintendo games simply sell. It's that simple. So Nintendo can guarantee to their shareholders 30 million in record time, and the game might go on to sell close to 50. So the thing about PlayStation and Sony doesn't have that luxury when it comes to their first party. And they just started to get into this 25, 30 or whatever million sales in terms of first party. Pretty much this generation. I don't think they did the last generation with PS4, and they definitely didn't come close with PS3. PS3 was probably one of the worst generations of all time when it came to sales of their first party. So when you hear Jim Ryan talk about the possibilities, when you see Jim Ryan talking about, never say never type of thing, it makes sense, because first of all, the market's changed. We've had this conversation so many times. The market has literally changed.
Yes.
They're not
right before our eyes too.
Yeah, they're not counting hardware sales as much, and hardware sales is not enough anymore as it is. And the reason why I say hardware sales is not enough as it is, because number one, first of all, there are complications that go with hardware sales, as you guys already know. The chip shortages, they can't even guarantee you a PS5. Neither can Microsoft. So when it comes to first party software, it makes sense to make more, but how do you make more? You have to have an option to get into the ecosystem. Now, PlayStation Infinite, I'm guessing, again, that's what it's called. Spartacus with a code name.
Yes.
Whatever they call that service, I do see the PS5 games day and date of some point.
Oh, I
now
love
maybe not in a couple, maybe not this year, right? Maybe not next year, but I would be surprised. And I stand by what I said last time. I'd be surprised by the end of this generation we don't see day and date of any particular kind on a service like PlayStation Infinite or something from there. The reason why I say that is because you look at all the leaks that's been going around, even with the NVIDIA leaks with games going to PC, had they or had they not been on point?
Yes, right on point.
There's just no denying it. So people think, oh, you're hurting the brand by putting the games on this, that, and the third. You're not hurting the brand. Sony's always been a stronger worldwide brand. The thing is, you are future-proofing the brand to make more of the games that you like in the long
Yeah,
run.
you know what?
That's simply it.
But I want you.
Mhm.
I want to touch on that point because you have said this on numerous podcasts that I've tuned into, and you have gone out and said, "Hey, listen, the only reason why Sony is looking in other directions is because their own fan base that complains about games being everywhere aren't the ones buying the games."
Yeah, these are the same guys, and yeah, I stand by it. The dudes who do the most on Twitter are the main ones who will be like, "Oh, I'll get it on sale." These are the same ones that will act like, you know, when they see somebody stream it, they'll go, "Okay, it looks good," right? They'll watch a full stream of it and then go to Twitter and act like they played it and give these reviews and cite these ridiculous expectations for the games. This is the same people who do stuff like that all the time, and the sales speak for itself. It's sad, but at the same time, it's not surprising whatsoever. Like, people want to be pandered to. I've really just noticed that people just really want to be pandered to. They don't really care about where the games go. I've seen so many people say, "I'm done with PlayStation, if this game goes this way, if this game goes here." And yeah, when the games go there, Mag, you already know where they at. Are they?
Yeah, I know.
Did
Exactly.
they leave PlayStation? No, they're still
No.
on PlayStation. And this is why I laugh when people say, "Oh, I'm leaving if they go day and day PC." As someone who games on PC as well as console, and I'm pretty sure Dutch plays on PC, I'm pretty sure you do as well, Mag at times, right? You guys already know the path, right? When it comes to these games on PC, or some of the issues we run into on PC are drastically different than what you run into on console. Now, what I mean by that, it can be something as simple as a launcher, it can be a driver, it can be X amount of things that can make a game run poorly on PC. Console gamers don't have this luxury, or don't have to worry about that luxury. All they have to do is wait for a software patch and you're good to go. PC, it's deeper than that. You're not going to leave a platform that you are comfortable with to go to something that's alien tech to you, for one, and number two, you're not going to go there for the sake of going there because of an agenda. You're not going to do that. Half these dudes who claim they're done, they're still buying the consoles. Half these dudes who claim that it affects them in some particular way, they act like they're all emotional, are the main dudes who don't buy the games they want, and you know it is. And Jim Ryan knows it as it is as well. It's just that simple. Numbers speak louder than words at this point. If I see
it's funny you say that, because I say that all the time. I says you can have opinions about anything, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, like I see, like the way people move the goalposts is hilarious. Like, I remember I got crucified with Return. I don't even remember that, Boom, when I was talking about Return.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't look like it's worth the money at first, right? I said it, and the dude was like, "Oh, but it sold well." I'm like, 500,000 units is selling well compared to guys who, you know what I mean, like the millions I'm seeing damage control this game, especially the bad shape it was in.
Yeah.
So I'm saying these are the same dudes that say support the developers. Oh, you should support the developers. You shouldn't have a subscription server. That's bad for you. How dare you get a discount? But yet, Destruction All-Star is a prime example of why we shouldn't have to pay $70 for every single game. And these are the same dudes that go, "Oh yeah, that game was good. It shouldn't be used." But I'm like, it was used prior, before it came to PlayStation Plus. The goalpost will always move. It's that simple. It doesn't matter where it is. It don't matter if the games go to PC. It don't matter if it goes to an Xbox. Dudes are quick at the snap of a finger. They're quick to move that goalpost and switch it to something that is completely not related to the situation. And they're quick to push agendas. Again, I've said this many times. I've interviewed multiple people in this industry that will tell you, expect change. I've said this multiple times. Expect change. The industry evolves. It's that simple. And you either got to go, you're either going to ride with it or you're going to leave. What's your choice? Are you going to miss out on games? No. Are you going to miss out on new experiences? No. This guarantees you more in the long run. And as we already know, there's no question when it comes to Sony and Microsoft, when it comes to wallets, Microsoft has a bigger wallet than Sony. Microsoft can do X amount of things with that wallet that Sony cannot do. Sony cannot compete in that aspect. They can't. Sony's big, their big strength has always been their first party. But even with their first party, they've always run into hiccups with their first party. Their first party does not sell the units that they want. And the fact that Jim Ryan's putting it out there, I mean, again, it should further wake people up. But again, people don't listen. They think he means something else. No, it's deeper than that. If you have 120 million people buying a console and you're only selling 5 million per game, and mind you, I'm not even talking about 25. These are the rare occurrences. Am I not right? These are rare occurrences.
You're 100% right.
This is not a constant thing. Not every single game does 25. This is the thing. Nintendo can guarantee shareholders they can sell 30 million every single game.
Well, look how many copies of Animal Crossing sold. It's close. It's encroaching on 50 million copies. That's
insane.
And Sony sees that. And Sony sees that. Think about it. Sony's putting all this extra effort into giving you these cinematic experiences. Horizon Forbidden West looks like a damn movie. It looks
sure freaking does, dude. And I can't wait.
Yeah. And that's crazy. And you see them putting all this effort to really wow you with the visuals and show off the hardware. And you mean to tell me that these games that wow you and go over the top can't sell 30 million a piece? Oh, dudes go, but it's a different this is for a different game or a different market. Really? Really? But we go on Twitter. But we're on Twitter though. We're on Twitter talking about it every single day.
I love it.
And you just main one not buying it. I love it. This is why I laugh at Twitter. That's why I don't engage in Twitter.
You know, the irony is actually a bit is that most of the quote unquote Xbox guys like us are the ones who buy the Sony games day one.
Yes, that is good. How long
I've had Horizon Forbidden West pre-ordered for like 2 months.
Dude, how long have I been talking about Horizon Zero Dawn when they used to break my balls?
Yeah, actually,
why do you
Boom,
like
you were
that
the one who turned me on to the game. Because I wasn't 100% sure about the IP, right? Because I mean, I know the other IPs, like everybody knows God of War, everybody knew Last of Us and all that kind of stuff. I bought all those games, no problem. But Horizon, I was always on the fence, and you kept telling me, you're like, just play it.
So good.
And I love it. And I mean, yeah. So, anyways, sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, I'm done. You right about that. I've seen more. I see more people on Xbox buying them too. But it's sad. It really is sad. When you have dudes who are quick to flip flop just because you don't pander, when you got dudes who are so quick to come through a chat just to see you play the game, and you see them, and they don't think you notice this. You stop. This is why I stop my streams at a certain point, right? I stop my stream at this point, and then I'll just go to Twitter. I'll be incognito. I'll be on Twitter. They don't even know
you'll be creeping in the. I'll be creeping. Shadows.
I'm literally creeping on Twitter. I'm seeing dudes talking about, the game is great because this, that, and third. Then I'll get a message. Hey, Big Cloud, when's the next stream?
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Wow.
But that's the reality, man. That's the reality. Dudes on PlayStation like the cap, BG said it best. A lot of these dudes just a bunch of whiny girls, and it is what it is. I stopped caring about a lot of them in the long run because when stuff is literally in front of you and you refuse to see the obvious signs, that's a you problem at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
That really is. Like, you're telling yourself it's not going to happen. You're lying to people. Use your influence saying it's not going to happen in these many ways. And the sad part is, it is. It's happened in front of you. The industry has changed.
Yes.
The whole my console's better than yours console mentality.
Nah, it's done.
It'll always exist. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll say it's dying. It'll always exist. Some people always look back and go, Xbox was better or PlayStation was better. That's not going anywhere. But the mindset of exclusivity and all this stuff, it really has become questioned. And there's just no ifs or buts about that. It's been questioned for quite some time.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Wolverine, is Wolverine going to be on Xbox? I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt they're gonna do that. I think that's more of a PC deal type of thing. But at the same time, what the way is, if you guys saw the new Doctor Strange trailer, there was a certain voice in that trailer that's very synonymous with our childhoods. That might hint at something there going down the road with MCU.
Oh, it's happening.
I think we're in the multiverse of gaming.
Happening.
I agree with you there.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's ripping open the multiverse of gaming, where like all these walls are coming
industry. Down. This is not the same. See, that's the thing that people have to understand. The old ways, the old guard has moved on. There is a new guard coming into the.
There's a reason. There's a reason why Jim Ryan's still there and still leading Sony. Okay, like. He sees things that other people disagree with, probably. I'm going to be honest, but we were all there when Phil, disagreed with everybody else and said, make it about the gamers. Make it something that, you can look back and say, like, man, like this dude really gave us something that was special. And it's something that like usually Microsoft's way too far ahead. Like even with the Kinect, like the Kinect is still used in like multiple applications that have nothing to do with gaming. But at the same time, it really, at that point in time, like the voice chat, like I just saw that they're bringing voice chat to PlayStation, and I'm like, wow, that's actually something I've never seen them do. You know what I mean? Like Jim is, he might have said some dumb stuff, but he's kind of sitting on the pulse now of what gaming needs to be at some point. And you got to throw the fanboys aside. Like on either
the
console,
money factor, Crispy, these games are encroaching in full feature film pricing.
Yep.
I
200 million plus.
$200 million. Listen, let's just say for S&Gs that the next Spider-Man 2, which by the way is probably going to be one of the best games ever released for Marvel, because it has Spider-Man, it's got Miles Morales, we know Venom is confirmed, we know Kraven the Hunter is confirmed. Game over, man. Game over. But here's the thing. If that game costs Sony $200 million to make, and they only sell 20 million copies, and I'm not saying like only is a bad thing. You got to understand the 25 million 2018 Spider-Man and 20 million are not initial. That's over the lifetime of the actual title. Even though those numbers are extremely impressive, we also have to take into account that those sales numbers included those consoles that they were giving away for free.
Exactly.
You can buy Spider-Man for $15 right now from Best Buy, and that counts as a sale, but that's not a full price sale. That's not a suggestion, folks. It's
and
fact.
they're at $15. They're not making money off that.
No,
I'm sorry.
they're not. So the point of the matter is that if they only add, and I say only, look at what God of War did. God of War sold 2 million copies, and that's great for PC. But I'm sure Jim Ryan was hoping that it would sold 10 million copies on PC,
especially when you have like 100 million plus people on Steam, right?
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah, you would have accepted. But here's the thing, Boom. That's the conundrum, because now you face the situation, not to carry this conversation forward any further, but I just wanted to get this out there. But is that the thing is that they've already got all those people that are on PC have most likely already played God of War on a PlayStation 4.
Right.
Because they most likely have a PlayStation 4 and a PC. So therefore they can experience certain Xbox games on their PC plus Steam games, and then have that PS4 on the side. So they got those sales already. What they need to do is they need to open it up.
Yeah, they do.
Further.
They do.
So that and I think that's where the subscription comes in. So that, like I was saying before, in my thing is that it's all got to be that people are going to be able to easily afford to be part of both ecosystems, not hardcores like us.
Right.
Okay, no mom and pop and Joe Sixpack is spending $2,500 just so they can play Halo on one box, okay, and Horizon Forbidden West on the other box. No one's doing that except for us. And we are a minority in that.
We are the minority.
People don't realize the economy as well. They're not looking at the economy.
And the economy, thank you, Bit. A lot of people out there are still suffering from the whole business that just happened, and we're slowly getting over and whatever else, right? Yep. It's still out there.
But we're far from getting back to normal in those respects. And that's
and like 100%. Getting back to normal doesn't mean people got their jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
exactly.
It's the whole thing. Once they open that door to affordability for the majority of the people, that's where you're going to see, like I was saying, 80 million playing God of War Ragnarok or whatever. Maybe not that soon, but let's say Spider-Man, okay? 2023 or maybe Wolverine 2024, 25, whatever. That's where you're going to see the big numbers come in.
Yeah.
And that's where you can actually see good competition too.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, right? it's going to be very interesting to see where they go. But understand this, man. Before we because I've said it before, just moments ago. The industry is changing. Things that were commonplace before are not in fact going to be commonplace nowadays. You're going to see companies do things that are going to be like, whoa, I did not see that coming. Wow, I'm really shocked. And we continue to see that. We continue to see these titans want to add more to their, more money to their bank accounts, and they're going to try different things. And again, all you have to do is look back to MLB The Show, the greatest baseball in gaming as we speak right now. That is now a multi-plat. Now,
PlayStation Studios is now being seen on Xbox and Switch.
How many? You know what? Think about that for just 1 second. That you turn on your Xbox and it says PlayStation Studios Presents, or you turn on your PlayStation to play an arcane game and it says Xbox Studios Presents.
It's Bizarro World.
It is. We are in the midst of an absolute gaming revolution that we are living through.
Feelings. It hurts people's feelings.
Isn't it wonderful?
They stand on the plastic box, and they don't understand that we are getting into the greatest generation of gaming in history. Like, they are going to be throwing haymakers at each other constantly. But everybody forgets that Microsoft is looking at Amazon and saying, "What you doing, bro? What's going on here? Why are you partnering?
Have a look at Lost Ark with its 1 million concurrent players.
Why are you partnering with Jeff Keighley? Why are you doing these things? That's what Microsoft's looking at. They ain't looking at. I'll tell you right now, it's gonna be Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox, and they're gonna grow their businesses their own way, but they're gonna play a little bit nice. I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect.
They got to for the industry,
but they're going to play a little bit nice and be nice to each other and be like, you know what? I mean, everybody looks at it and says, hey, Xbox has released a few games on Nintendo Switch. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Cuphead was huge on Nintendo.
By the way, can I ask you a question? Is Warzone on the Switch?
No, not yet.
Sorry,
that's what they're going for.
That's coming next.
They said Nintendo. They said we're gonna. But I'm telling you right now, they're looking at Nintendo and saying, like, let's release Warzone. Let's do this. We'll subsidize our cloud gaming.
That's right.
They're gonna do a lot of things.
They're gonna cloud stream Call of Duty for Switch too.
100%.
Why shut out almost 100 million consoles?
100%.
I mean, I would love to see them make a deal with a Nintendo, like they'll share Xbox Live with them.
But I think that what they're going to do is use the Azure cloud servers for the Switch, because the Switch has no balls. Let's face it, for power, right? So they if they're able to stream like with a good internet connection or 5G or whatever, you're playing Call of Duty on the Switch in not the next two Call of Duties, but the third one down the road. Mark my words.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, folks, what a great 90 minutes, 93 minutes to be exact. I'm going to open the floor up to this Resident Evil topic because we're pressed for time, and I really don't want to spend more than 2 hours here because people, obviously it's Valentine's Day, and I'm surprised we actually had this many people tune in, number one, and we have such a stout panel. It just so happens that two of the biggest Resident Evil fans, like myself, are here in BitCloud and, of course, Mag, but today, the official Resident Evil portal dropped something that was pretty interesting. I have that tweet in front of me. It's almost at 4,300 likes. It says this: "Oh, there's something suspicious activity going on at Resident Evil portal. It seems that this was the reason why all of the staff around me were working and were busy lately. There's something going on tomorrow at 4 p.m. JST." Hope that you will enjoy it. Now, this comes the way of just talking with Special Nick in the DM, who happens to be in the chat. And if you don't know who Special Nick is, well, he is one of the incredible voices over at Xbox Era. With him and John drop an incredible show each and every week. Resident Evil 4 Remake is coming, folks. And Resident Evil 4, that particular iteration, is one of the best selling in the entire franchise, and I expect that Resident Evil 4 is going to sell as much as Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is at 8.1 million copies, and Resident Evil 3 Remake, which is at 4.2 million copies. So it's almost 14. It's almost 12 and a half million combined. And I have a strong suspicion that Resident Evil 4, being one of the best in the series, where we saw Leon S. Kennedy reprise his role. And listen, folks, we're getting all kinds of information there. Supposedly, it's going to have some nighttime missions thrown into the mix for the scare factor.
The opening village part when
it's going to be at night rather than be
night.
Yes,
Ada Wong's getting more missions or a longer story. They're
yes, and supposedly again, Sherry might get some more. Hopefully, they do something with her. I said Sherry. What was the president's daughter's name? Ashley. That's what it was. Yeah, Ashley gets.
What game you played?
Yeah, poor Sherry stuck in my brain. But Ashley gets more than you having to save her from getting kidnapped, because that part of the game, I want to throw my controller, and I don't ever do that. That was annoying. But
what if they change her though? They might make her more of a rebel.
I hope so. I hope that that this is a true remake where we actually see Ashley step up in a big way. I'd love to see an extension of Ada Wong and see what she's going to be bringing to the table, because that is going to be interesting. Listen, all you have to do is look at the remakes. Resident Evil 2 remake was a masterpiece. Resident 3 wasn't as great because they did cut out a lot. Which I did not like. I'm a huge RE3 fan, and they did. I mean, like the whole clock tower was cut out. I mean, I don't understand how that happened, but that's here nor there. I'm gonna open up the floor to the excitement level. Resident Evil 4 remake is coming this year. We don't know when. I'm banking on maybe the end of the year, closer to Halloween. That seems about right. But we have seen in the past that these remakes come out around March, April for Capcom, and being that they've held it so close to the vest, we could get a sooner than later scenario. Anyone want to jump in and give your thoughts and opinions on Resident Evil 4 remake? What's your hype level?
Yeah,
I mean, my hype's over the moon.
I was going to say Resident Evil 4 is my favorite Resident Evil anyway. I was never a fan of the tank controls of the originals. Resident Evil 4 I loved though. Obviously played it on GameCube, played it on Xbox, played it on PlayStation. Loved the game. I loved the story, the enemies, the vibe that you got. It was a great game. That I'm looking forward to seeing what the remake is on this one. The others, I've got them. I've got the remakes of 2 and I think it was 3.
Freaking so good, man! Holy moly!
Yeah. But they were never my kind of go-to Resident Evil games anyway. Like 4 was always the one that I loved. So to see it get remade, I'm thankful. I'm glad it isn't Code Veronica or anything like that, because they just don't interest us.
Veronica was good.
Yeah.
We need a Code Veronica remake. Just saying. Hashtag.
Yeah,
I'll take
Outbreak because they've seen the success of all of these. They've seen the success of it, and they know that it's easy. I wouldn't say easy money, because they've still got to remake the game. But in terms of knowing your audience, they know they'd love an updated version of the game as long as they do it justice. And 2 and 3 have done them justice. They've kind of expanded on the stories and put extra content in, as well as make them look really graphically very pretty. Obviously, gameplay wise, it's still great. You can still tank control them if you really want to. I'm excited for 4. It's the first Resident Evil game that I've been excited for in terms of a remake. So take that for what it is. But I'll put back out to the floor with actual big Resi fans.
You know what? Do you mind if I spit this out quick?
Jump right in.
I gotta bounce after that, Boom. I got an early call.
Yeah, we got you.
Let me tell you something. The first thing is we don't know 100% if this is just about Resident Evil 4, or could it also be that we've got the DLC coming for Village?
Oh,
because let's think about this, guys. Village. All right, I'm going to push Resident Evil 4 aside for just 1 second. Resident Evil Village has sold faster than Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the best Steam launch of a Resident Evil game, period.
My least favorite, too, which is surprising.
What? Village was your least favorite?
I
played it 7 times. I couldn't get enough.
Dude,
it's a great game, but it's not as scary, or it didn't have the horror feel.
It barely made it barely made it into my honorable mentions.
Wow, I adored it. I got 975. I played it on Xbox, so I got 975 out of 1,000. The only thing I couldn't finish was one of those damn, those challenge things, those timed challenge missions.
Oh, the mercenaries.
Yeah, the mercenaries, absolutely utter ridiculous. I got all of them except for one, and it was just too damn hard.
Hey
So
man,
I
I
just
did
gave
it
up.
twice. Platinumed it twice.
God damn it! So, and I tried and I tried and I just said forget. But however, here's the thing: why not? Because the DLC, if anybody remembers, the DLC for Resident Evil was not only stellar, it sold incredibly well.
Yeah.
And that's what prompted them to, I mean, they were going to move on with Resident Evil Village anyway, but that's what happened. They ended up fast tracking Resident Evil 8 because of the response, the public response to the games. Okay, so what I think they could do is they're going to add on to that. Now, how about this for talking about Capcom domination? You've got all these other companies fighting for attention right now. You got Sony making moves at the early part of the year. Okay, you got Uncharted, the Legacy of Thieves came out. You got Horizon Forbidden West. You got Forspoken coming out in the spring. God of War on the tail end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you
Gran
got
Turismo.
Xbox. Oh yeah, right. And Gran Turismo. I always have my brain blocks that one out because I'm not interested. But then you got Xbox doing what they're doing, and we all know what they're doing. I don't want to go through that long list. And God knows all the surprises that they're going to launch in Game Pass too. Nintendo does their own damn thing. And here's the thing. And now you got WB coming in with Harry Potter and Suicide Squad. Capcom? What's going on with them? Right? So it could be. What if they try for like the 1-2 punch? You talk about the DLC. Okay, for Resident Evil Village, and at the same time, somewhere later on in the year, or maybe even earlier in the year than the DLC for Village later, that's when you hit everybody with the Resident Evil 4 remake. And the thing is, a lot of people, I've been actually told, a lot of people are like, oh, it's too soon. No, it's not too soon. They have the blueprints. If anybody knows anything about game development, the actual execution of the development is actually the shorter part of the time of the time frame of what they did. The actual what the hell is it? The concept, getting it from the drawing room into the PCs and into the computers and actual programming is the longest part of it. The stories, okay, the art direction, all that kind of stuff, all the different animations, everything else like that. The environments, they already have all those.
Yep.
Right. So all they have to do is just build and embellish them to make them better.
Hey, Mac, let me throw this at you. What if the DLC is Leon and this whole thing was like a big Leon showcase?
Well, why not?
Yeah,
because we already had Chris. We already had Chris.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You're gonna hate me for this. I really dislike the way they took Chris.
You say Leon is not a good character?
No, I said I love Leon.
Oh, they say, how dare you? Cut his mouth.
I actually, I kind of like
Leon's
going with Chris. Chris was an asshole in this one.
Yeah, I didn't like the way they turned. I mean, listen, I get it. You've been through the rigmarole, but man, dude, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I haven't even beaten Resident yet.
See, that's the weird thing.
That, or it's going to be a setup for the daughter. I think
you had
to be the daughter.
This is. Can I just say this real quick? Think about this for a second. How many movies spawned from a gosh darn game? A lot of people forget this, but the entire Resident Evil series for movies was spawned off of a game. Think about that.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like there's no well, you know what? Some of them were horrible, some of them were great. The second one was great.
You said some were great. You said
yes.
But you know the thing is interesting. It's in the mind share of non-gamers.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen,
right? So it's crossed that, it's that crossover.
I mean, if you really look at it, like Thor: The Dark World in the MCU was a horrible movie.
That was terrible. It was a terrible film. Yeah,
right. So you look at that and you say, but they have went back to it multiple times throughout the MCU after. You know what I mean? Even though it was a bad movie, technically. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that, like, you know what? If you are a true fan, you're going to look at it and say, man, like, they really went back to that, even though I didn't like it. And it was actually, like, funnier or something a little better. Like, it was a little snarky comment. You know what I'm saying? And if you pay attention, if you're a true fan of these consoles and everything else, you will like live, breathe them. And I go and say that, like, dude, I've been a Chiefs fan since '94 when we sucked. I literally became a Chiefs fan because of Joe Montana. And I look at that dude and I say, man, like, we got Patrick Mahomes. He's done already more than Joe Montana ever has in a Chiefs uniform. You know what I'm saying? So I look at that and I say, man, like, I'm riding with this dude. Like, he's doing what I need. And, you know, Xbox right now, it's like, dude, I don't have a lot of money. You know, hey, here's Game Pass for $15 a month. And I say, wow, like, you're really giving this to me? Like, when I need it the most, when I need to be able to play what game I want to play. And it doesn't have to be a first-person shooter. It could be a third person. It could be a fighting game. It could be, you know, a top-down. You know, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Well, let's you know, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because I think Resident Evil 8 could be one of the big ones that could come to Xbox Game Pass. But listen, let's get you on out here, brother.
Yeah, guys.
Obviously, you got to roll.
Yes,
and
I do.
We're closing in on the 2-hour mark. Anyone want to drop their bars, so to speak, regarding the expected announcement? I honestly don't think that we're going to see the announcement for DLC. I think that tomorrow's event is going to be solely based on Resident Evil 4 remake, which is going to be big for Capcom. Hopefully that is March. I would love to see it soon. I'd love to pull a Bethesda. Hey, it's February and it's coming out in April.
That might be though. I mean, we never really know. It might be like Leon showcase. You might get DLC.
I mean, you could, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know.
But looking at the info, like, I mean, keeping up to date, I mean, I'm hearing that Salazar is going to have, or Sadler, Lord Sadler is going to have a bigger role. All of them, all their roles are going to be bigger this time around. I'm wondering if, what's the name? Who voiced Krauser is coming back as well, because they're talking about him coming back in a bigger.
Krauser was a great character.
Well.
Yeah. I hopefully they expand his role even further. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because from what things are looking at, looks like they're really going to put a big emphasis on Ada. A lot of people felt like Ada in the when we first got it could have had a longer story, just as long as Leon's. So they might do that. But the only thing I really want them to change, and we just talked about it briefly, I do want them to at least toughen Ashley up and make her not be the damsel in distress. Make her actually
hide in the garbage can while I fight the two guys with potato sacks and chainsaws. Yeah,
like give her like a Claire Redfield-esque buff. You know what I mean? Like you see her vulnerable at first, she kind of comes to her own. She becomes a survivor in the end, type of thing. I would actually appreciate that more for Ashley, as opposed to her just being like constantly screaming Leon every 5 minutes she gets picked up. Like I would really like that more. But there's just so many updates they can do, especially for the the fish zombie, all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff they can improve on. And if anything I would want from this, I would just want the Resident Evil 2 remake template, the way the movement is with the camera. That would be my ideal look for this game. Just go with that template, add everything from Resident Evil 4, you redo everything the way we know what's going to happen, and you just have fun at that point.
Well,
and
hold on a second. Do we know what's going to happen? And the reason why I bring that up, sorry to cut you there, but I got to say, Shinji Mikami even said, he goes, I actually look forward to them working on the story, because he wasn't too happy with like the way the story was. It seemed a little bit juvenile at the time, and he wanted a more mature story. He just said it 2 days ago. He was in the news talking about it.
I mean,
did you guys see that article?
Yeah, knowing him, he might write it to a point where it fits better.
Well, think about it, how ridiculous it is.
Ending. Yeah.
Can you imagine the president of the United States' daughter has gone missing, and the only thing you send some schmuck with a handgun in a plant?
As I think, like that's what he said. The role is going to be bigger. You might actually get to play as Lewis in this. You never know, because remember Lewis was the researcher.
Yeah,
and so they might have like an origin thing for the Lost Plagas, and they'll do that, and then you'll see the village get under the control of Sadler type of thing, and then Leon shows up and you see everything in that regard. But also, you guys remember that Netflix TV show they have for Resident Evil, the animated. They might tag, or they might write this in to tie into that, because that takes place right after Resident Evil 4, if I remember correctly, and it involves.
I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
Yeah.
It's actually
it's
quite
okay.
good.
It's okay.
It's
Really
not
good.
I like the other animated films better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah.
They were listen, I was gonna say they're campy, but that's Resident Evil 4. It's just Resident Evil is just kind of can be campy.
Yep.
I expected the Netflix. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I'll say
I
that.
like The Witcher, dude. The Witcher is like, oh my god, that show's so damn good, dude.
But actually, I'm looking forward to the prequel, which is pretty dope. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank. We had almost 350 people here on a holiday, which is amazing. I want to thank all the super chats that came in, and we also had one I didn't read from our good friend Brett Bingham, who drops a super chat, a $2 super chat, and he says this: Arcane should make a Doctor Strange game. Yeah, I am waiting for the announcement of a Marvel game from an Xbox studio. I don't know what the holdup is.
We keep getting crucified for saying that. Like, we need one from Microsoft.
They got a Lucasfilm one.
I'll tell you right now, Arcane is a developer that I look at. It's just like Obsidian. Obsidian's about to blow people's minds.
Yes.
About, I think, is going to be just one of those games that you're just like, man, this is on another level.
It has the potential to be a Skyrim level event with Avowed, and I think that's possible.
A lot of people forget this, and this is what I always say: it comes down to gameplay. How does the game feel? Like, dude, Doom Eternal for me is like, it's on another level, and it's a level that I can't even get to, because I mean, I could play on easy, but I just don't feel that's what the game's worth. And I might go.
You gotta get your teeth kicked in by Doom to appreciate it, for sure.
Exactly.
But listen, Crispy, I want to thank you so much for being here, brother. You obviously came in. We also had Web Dave come in the last minute. BitCloud. Let's get everyone out of here, and we'll start you with first, Crispy. Again, you're going to be back Friday morning with Breakfast at Boom. I'm already working and writing that show as we speak. I'm not sure what the headline title is going to be because, well, it's only Monday, and tomorrow Sony could buy Capcom and Microsoft could buy Crystal Dynamics. We don't know, but we'll see. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media if they want to strike up a conversation. And what other shows are you on there, Crispy?
I appreciate it, man. And yeah, I answered the bat signal as well.
I appreciate that very much, sir.
At Chris Baum on Twitter, Chris Baum 20 Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegades tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We have the next podcast Thursday, 8 p.m. And of course, you can find me on Breakfast of Boom, 10 a.m. Fridays.
Nice. And tomorrow, don't forget to tune in, because tomorrow we're talking some Gears and Coalition. They've been working on a project for 2 years, and it might be a Gears project. We're going to talk about what Clobriel had to say, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Web Dave, brother, you killed it again. Thank you for being here, brother. Sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can check out the incredible interviews that you've been up to, and who's next on the docket.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Anytime I can ever help out, man, I'm here for you. And I absolutely love being here. Thank you. And I am easily to find. Our website is outbreakpodcast.com. That's the simplest way, because you can go right there, or it's just Outbreak Podcast when you search in YouTube. But from there, we've got our links to all of our shows and all of our social media. And the next, we got Kay Asante coming up on Wednesday.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. And then the following Wednesday will be Pong Soul.
Excellent.
And the following Wednesday after that will be The Mag.
Oh, wow.
Who's you have that guy?
Lineup, brother. Look at that.
That's right. And then the Monday after that, Wednesday, we'll have Wandering Dutch.
Excellent. Wow, you have some powerhouse interviews coming, brother. Yeah, go check him out. He really does put a lot of work into the interviews. The questions are fantastic. He does his homework, and I think you're definitely going to dig it. Web Dave, thank you for being here, brother. We definitely appreciate it. BitCloud Gaming, sell your brand, brother. Talk about what you got going on, not only on your 10K channel, but also what you've been doing with IGN.
Well, finished everything up. Happy to have my hands free before I changed. I got you game. Yeah, this week,
big week for gaming.
You already know it's going to be straight gaming news as always. Back to the content creation as I wanted to get back to. As far as the show is concerned, I mean, every Friday, 5 p.m. EST, RGT podcast, what we do. Obviously, 10 in the morning, I come here with Boom for Breakfast with Boom Fridays as well. Make sure you guys tune in for that. As far as interviews, we do have a big show planned for March 11th. And that right there is about to be the start of something completely different, aside from the gaming aspect that we do. Very excited for it because I basically signed a deal. You guys already know all behind the scenes, but
yes, we certainly
I'm
do.
very
big
excited
deal.
about what's happening in that aspect, and it just just as a big fan of that particular sport, that's really cool just to have that be as another option to bring content to everybody. So I'm looking forward to March 11th. With so much enthusiasm. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's Big Cloud Gaming, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and yeah, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Wandering Dutch, brother. Tell everyone where they could check out your weekly podcast on Wednesdays, the midweek mix up, and also where can people check out your YouTube channel and reach out to you on social media.
Definitely, of course. Yeah, midweek mix up. This week we are having a break for a week. That includes the weekend. Well deserved, I think. There's been a lot of stuff going on recently, and as it starts to get a smidge quieter, it's a good time to just have 1 week off before that news starts to boil in again. But yeah, every Wednesday on the Wandering Dutch YouTube channel is the home of the midweek mix-up and the midweek mix-up weekend edition. We were searching for a PlayStation-centric panel member to join us, and Mr. Big Cloud himself is going to be joining us henceforth as our PlayStation.
Nice, dude.
As our PlayStation guru. Very long conversations yesterday, some awesome conversations about content creation in general, really.
Yeah, my check bounced, by the way.
I'll send it back.
Paying him, sir.
But yeah, that's awesome. And of course, I just now announced just beforehand there that work is underway on this year's community indie showcase as well.
Nice.
So that is coming back and will be bigger and better than ever. Already starting to speak to developers to get some content and potentially some exclusive content and first looks as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice, brother. Nice. Well, you always do a great job with that, and I can't wait to be a part of that conversation. And last and no way least, Mag, let's get you on out here, brother. Tell everyone where they can find you in other places. And I think right now it is only on exclusively. We have you we have an exclusive deal with the Mag.
Exclusive.
That's right. He is not showing up on the PlayStation near you. Tough titty. But no. All jokes aside,
sharing's caring. Don't be anti-consumer.
That's right. Don't be anti-consumer, Boom.
Actually, ironically, I've been only playing PlayStation. Ironically, the Xbox guy's only been playing my PS5 since January when Legacy of Thieves came out. Because I am hell-bent.
He's
hell-bent on platining getting the platinum on that, because I got 13 platinum since the PS5, right? Xbox guy. So you know what I mean? So but anyways, I got that going on. Anyways,
you have been told. That's the question,
motherfucker.
I got 500 trophies and 13 platinums this year already. In the year since the thing came out. But anyways, guys, you can find me here exclusively for the time being because work has been a thing, folks. So anyways, I'm here obviously every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern here on Primetime Gaming. Guys, you know where to follow me because if you're listening to this show, you already watched my videos. You already know where to find me. And any shenanigans, nothing yet. You know why? It got real quiet. So you know what? Yeah. When things start to pick up again, always look for the Mag. You'll see me. I'll be right there waiting for him. But anyways, guys, and anybody who wants to play games with me, if you catch me on any of the systems, PS5 and, of course, the Xbox Series X, all one word, all capitals because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. That is with 2 G's. Guys, I have to run. You guys were amazing. Web Dave, Dutch, Crispy, a bit, Boom. You guys are amazing. Chat, you guys are awesome. Guys, we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, brother.
Go get some sleep, bro.
Yeah, absolutely get some
my
sleep.
ass.
Yeah. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on your Valentine's Day, hanging out with us, letting us, talk the talk and walk the walk. We hope that you enjoyed today's show. If you did, hit the like button, obviously, before you get out of here. Share this on social media. And, of course, thank you for all the super chats that came in today. It is greatly appreciated. Of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.